The early days of the NBA, basketball was not yet the popular and lucrative sport that it is today. In fact, many people had never even heard of the game, and those who had were more likely to associate it with high school and college athletics than with professional sports. But that all changed with the creation of the NBA All-Star Game, an event that would go on to become one of the most beloved and celebrated traditions in the world of sports. The NBA All-Star Game was first held in Boston in 1951, and it was the brainchild of the then commissioner of the NBA, Maurice Podoloff. Podoloff had a vision of bringing together the best players in the league for an exhibition game, and he believed that such a game would not only showcase the talents of the players but also help to raise the profile of the NBA. The game was a success, and it paved the way for what would become one of the most iconic events in the world of sports. Over the years, the NBA All-Star Game has evolved and changed, but it has remained a highlight of the basketball calendar. In the early years, the game was a simple exhibition, with little fanfare or hoopla. But as the game grew in popularity, so too did the events surrounding it. Today, the NBA All-Star Game is a weekend-long extravaganza, featuring not just the game itself but a variety of other events and activities designed to entertain and engage fans of all ages. One of the most popular of these events is the Slam Dunk Contest, which was first held in 1984. The Slam Dunk Contest is a showcase of the most athletic and acrobatic players in the league, who compete to see who can perform the most jaw-dropping and awe-inspiring dunks. Over the years, the contest has featured some of the greatest players in the history of the sport, including Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and Vince Carter. But despite the popularity of the NBA All-Star Game, there have been some bumps in the road along the way. In the early years, the game struggled to attract top players, and there were concerns that the game was not competitive enough. In the 1970s, there were even rumors that the game was rigged, with players accused of purposely missing shots and playing lackluster defense in order to keep the game close. But perhaps the biggest challenge to the NBA All-Star Game came in 2002, when the game was held in Philadelphia, just a few months after the tragic events of September 11th. There were concerns that holding the game so soon after the terrorist attacks would be seen as disrespectful, and there were even calls for the game to be cancelled. But the NBA pressed ahead with the game, and it turned out to be one of the most memorable and poignant moments in the history of the sport. The game was a showcase of the resilience and spirit of the American people, and it featured an emotional pre-game ceremony that paid tribute to the victims of the attacks. The players wore special patches on their jerseys that read, "United We Stand," and a giant American flag was unfurled on the court. The game was played in a spirit of unity and solidarity, and it provided a much-needed sense of comfort and normalcy for a nation still reeling from the events of the previous year. In addition to its emotional resonance, the 2002 NBA All-Star Game also featured one of the greatest performances in the history of the sport. The game was a back-and-forth affair, with both teams trading leads throughout. But in the final minutes of the game, it was Kobe Bryant who took over, scoring 31 points in the fourth quarter alone to lead the Western Conference to a dramatic 135-120 victory. Bryant's performance was a masterclass in scoring and clutch play, and it cemented his status as one of the greatest players of his generation. It also provided a fitting tribute to the city of Philadelphia, which had suffered so much in the wake of the September 11th attacks. Since that time, the NBA All-Star Game has continued to evolve and change, as the league seeks to keep the event fresh and exciting for fans. In 2018, the league made a major change to the format of the game, eliminating the traditional East-West matchup in favor of a new format that pits the top players from each conference against one another. Under the new format, the two leading vote-getters from each conference serve as captains, and they draft their teams from a pool of all-star selections. This new format has injected new life into the game, and it has led to some of the most entertaining and competitive all-star games in recent memory. The two teams then compete in a series of quarters, with each quarter starting with the score tied at 0-0. The team with the most points at the end of each quarter wins $100,000 for a charity of their choice. At the end of the third quarter, the scores are added up, and the team with the most points is awarded a 24-point bonus, in honor of Kobe Bryant's jersey number. The teams then play a target score to determine the winner of the game. The target score is determined by adding 24 points to the leading team's score at the end of the third quarter, and the first team to reach the target score wins the game. The 2023 NBA All-Star Game promises to be another memorable event, with some of the biggest stars in the league set to take the court. The game will be held in Los Angeles, and it will feature a variety of events and activities designed to engage and entertain fans from around the world. While the NBA All-Star Game has certainly had its ups and downs over the years, it has remained a constant source of excitement and inspiration for fans of the sport. From its humble beginnings as a simple exhibition game to its current status as a star-studded spectacle, the NBA All-Star Game has helped to elevate basketball to the heights of popularity and success that it enjoys today. And as long as there are fans who love the game, the All-Star Game will continue to be a beloved and celebrated tradition in the world of sports. However, despite its popularity and cultural significance, the All-Star Game has not been without controversy. Throughout its history, there have been criticisms that the game has become more about showmanship and individual performances than about true competition and team play. In the 1998 All-Star Game, for example, many critics took issue with the fact that the game had become a three-point shooting contest, with players taking an unprecedented 89 three-point shots over the course of the game. The final score was 135-114, with the Western Conference emerging as the winner, but many felt that the game had been tarnished by the lack of real competition. One of the more recent criticisms of All-Star Weekend has centered on the dunk contest. Some fans and analysts feel that in recent years, the contest has lacked the same level of star power and excitement that it once had. This has led to concerns that the dunk contest is in danger of becoming irrelevant, with fewer and fewer big-name players willing to participate. One of the issues that has been cited as contributing to this decline is the fact that many of the biggest stars in the NBA are reluctant to participate in the dunk contest. This may be due in part to the risk of injury, as the high-flying acrobatics that are required to win the contest can be dangerous for even the most skilled players. Another factor that may be contributing to the decline of the dunk contest is the fact that the format has remained largely the same over the years. The contest typically involves a series of rounds in which players are given a limited number of attempts to complete a dunk. While this format can be exciting when the participants are at the top of their game, it can also become repetitive and predictable when the same dunks are performed over and over again. Despite these concerns, there are still many fans who look forward to the dunk contest every year and who appreciate the skills and creativity that the participants bring to the table. For many, the dunk contest is a chance to see some of the NBA's most exciting young players show off their athleticism and creativity on the court. In recent years, there have been efforts to revamp the dunk contest and make it more appealing to fans and participants alike. One of the most notable changes was the introduction of the Dunk-In round in 2010, which allowed additional participants to compete for a chance to be included in the main contest. There have also been efforts to attract bigger-name players to the contest by increasing the prize money and offering other incentives. In addition to concerns about the game's competitiveness, there have also been questions about the selection process for the All-Star teams. Some have argued that the selection process, which relies heavily on fan voting, is inherently flawed, as it allows for popular players to be chosen over more deserving players who may not have as much name recognition. Furthermore, there have been instances where players who were clearly deserving of an All-Star selection were left off the roster due to politics or personal biases. In 1980, for example, the Phoenix Suns' Walter Davis was left off the Western Conference team despite averaging over 24 points per game, simply because he had been critical of the All-Star game in the past. Despite these controversies, the NBA All-Star Game remains a beloved tradition for millions of fans around the world. From its early days as a small exhibition game to its current status as a global spectacle, the All-Star Game has been an important part of the basketball landscape for more than 70 years. And as the game continues to evolve and change, there is no doubt that it will continue to capture the imaginations of fans for years to come. Whether it's the stunning performances of Kobe Bryant or the electrifying dunks of Michael Jordan, the NBA All-Star Game has always been a celebration of the best and brightest stars in the sport, and it will remain an essential part of the basketball world. As the NBA looks ahead to the future of All-Star Weekend, it will be important to balance tradition with innovation, and to find new and exciting ways to keep fans engaged and invested in the game. Whether it's through new events, revamped formats, or other creative strategies, the NBA will need to continue to evolve and adapt in order to ensure that the All-Star Game remains a highlight of the basketball calendar for many years to come.